Hello students, welcome back to my channel English Wave. My name is Gurpesra and I'm going to start a special series on writing module of the IELTS. And in this video, we are going to start IELTS Task-1, or in the CBSE curriculum, this is called an analytical paragraph. So without any further ado, let's start with the video. So first of all, let's start with what is an analytical paragraph. Analytical paragraph, it's very clear from name that you have to analyze the things and describe as per your own language. Now, what are the things which will be given to you and from where you have to analyze the things? You will be given one type of a graph and you have to analyze that and you have to assess that graph and write on the trends of the graph. So these are the graphs that you can be given: line graph, pie chart, bar graph, table chart, or map chart, and process chart. And out of them, these are the four graphs which are very common in case of CBSE curriculum. And in the IELTS, you can be given any type of graph out of them. So let's see how many words you have to write down while describing. In case of CBSE curriculum, you have to write down at least 120 words. And in case of IELTS, you have to write down at least 150 words. But I would recommend you to go beyond at least 170 to 180 words for the better scores. So this was all about the analytical paragraph, and today we'll start with the line graph. That is our first type of the graph. And before this, let's see the general structure of the analytical paragraph. So generally we use 4 body paragraph system. First body paragraph, that is called introduction part. What you are supposed to write down in the introduction part, you have to introduce what type of graph is given, what is the information, and what are the units or several trends that particular graph will go through, right? Let's see the next body paragraph, that is overall. Somewhere in the structures, it is given that students are supposed to write down the conclusion part. But I would not say a conclusion, because this is not an issue that we have to discuss and conclude at the end. This is just a data of the past which is compiled in the form of graph, and we have to assess that data and we have to write down the data. And it's very clear from the statement, we are supposed to describe the data in past indefinite tense. I'm talking about description only. Introduction and overall parts can be written in present indefinite also, because these are the things that we are making right away when we are assessing the graph, right? So overall, so instead of conclusion part, I would write down overall. What are the things that you are supposed to put in overall? First thing to remember, that you are not supposed to put any data in the overall. Overall means we have to see the general overview of the graph. What are the most noticeable trend in the overview, and we can see the values, what are the maximum values, where are the lower values, and these are the things we have to put in overall. Or it would be more thoroughly understood when we'll write down the sample answers for this. So let's move on to the next part, that is our body paragraph 1. And last body paragraph 2. So this is the 4 body paragraph structure or general structure of every type of the graph. Although it can be varied according to the type of graph, but general structures would be similar to these structures. And introduction overall we have already seen. In the body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, we are supposed to describe the trends of the graph. What is happening in the graph? Whether there are some increments or the declining trends and so on. So first we'll start with the introduction part of the paragraph, and further we'll move on to the next body paragraphs. So let's start with an introduction part. So while talking about introduction part of the analytical paragraph or the task 1, we need 5 things to write down the introduction. Now let's see what are these 5 things that we have to analyze while writing the introduction. So let's see. What is the first thing that we have to see while writing the introduction? That is type of graph. Whether it is a line graph, pie chart, process chart, map chart, and so on. Next thing that you have to assess, that is data or information. Means about what the graph is talking about. Third thing, that is location of the data, if it is given. Sometimes it is not given, but if it is given, we have to mention the location of the graph. Fourth thing, that is time. Obviously, we have to mention that what is the time range that is mentioned in the graph. Fifth thing, that is units. In what units the data is provided. It can be in numbers, it can be in thousands, lakhs, million, billions, or any other type of units can be given, like percentage. So these are the 5 things that we have to see while writing the introduction. Always remember, we have to compile the introduction always in present indefinite tense, because right now we are assessing the data and we are writing the information. So that's why we have to write on in present indefinite tense. Let's see how to compile this data in the structures, in the tenses, and this we will understand with the help of an example. So let's take an example. So this is the example of line graph. The line graph shows the proportions of mobile phones sold in India from 2000 to 2005. Summarize the information. So on the x-axis we are given the timeline, that is from 2000 to 2005, and on the y-axis the percentage of mobile phones sold, means units are given. So let's see that what is happening from 2000 to 2001. What is happening? The sale increased from 5% to 10%, and from 2001 to 2, what happened? It got stabilized at 10%. Then it got declined, then again increased, and we can see from 2004 to 5 some fluctuations are there, right? So we have to summarize this information and we have to give the description for this. So let's write on the introduction for this. We have already seen these are the 5 things we have to see while writing the introduction. Let's see how these 5 things are compiled in the tenses. Type of graph, obviously it's a line graph. Data or information, obviously it is the data of mobile phones sold. Location, India. Time, from 2000 to 2005. Units, percentage or proportion. Let's see how these 5 things are compiled. So our introduction should be like this. The given line graph illustrates the information related to mobile phones sold, or we can also say related to the sale of mobile phone from 2000 to 2005. So out of these four things we have already considered. What are these four things? Type of graph, that is line graph. Data or information related to sale of mobile phone. Timeline from 2000 to 2005. One thing more is missed here. Sale of mobile phones in India from 2000 to 2005. Now four things are already considered along with the location and time. This is the fifth thing that we are left with. Units, percentage. How we put the units? The units are given in percentage. And we're done with the introduction part. These are the 5 things we have considered, and we have compiled all these things into tenses. So this is how we have to write on the introduction. Very simple. But now some difficult part comes. What is the difficult part? That we have to paraphrase these tenses. Paraphrase means what? Paraphrase means we have to change the words with their synonyms. That is word-based paraphrasing. We have 2 types of paraphrasing. That is, first, word-based paraphrasing. Second is sentence-based paraphrasing. In the word-based paraphrasing, what we are supposed to do, that instead of this word, what other word can be used? What are the synonyms of illustrates? What are the synonyms of related to? What are the synonyms of line graph? Synonyms of percentage? Means we have to replace the words. Generally, why I am replacing these words? Why I am talking about replacement of these words? Because we have to show the examiner that we have a range of vocabulary, or we know the variety of tenses and words. And in sentence-based paraphrasing, we have to change the structures of the tenses to show the examiner that we also know the different structures of the tenses without affecting its meaning, how to say the same thing in other lines or other words. So this is sentence-based paraphrasing. So first we'll see with the word-based paraphrasing, what are the words that we can replace. Let's see. Instead of given word, what are the other words that can be used? I'll erase this. So instead of given word, what other words can be used? Assigned word can be used. The assigned line graph. Provided. Rendered. So these are the words that can be used instead of given word. Line graph, or we can also say it linear representation. Then illustrates. Instead of illustrates, so many words are there. Depicts, elucidates, displays, reveals. These are some general words that can be used. And if you want to know more things, I have given the link in the description. I have made the notes of these words, and you will find all those words. Related to. Instead of this word related to, what are the words? Let's see. About, or my favorite one, that is pertaining to. Pertaining to means related to, that can be used. Sale of mobile phones, related to mobile phones sold in India. This is how the structures can be modified from 2000 to 2005. That is our timeline. We have different structures. We have several structures how to depict the timeline. Let's see. First structure, that is from 2000 to 2005. Next, between 2000 and 2005. More structures. Over a period of 5 years, and in the bracket we can write on 2000 to 2005. Instead of period, what other word can be used? Over a span of 5 years, or in the wake of 5 years. And in the bracket we can write down the range. So these are the structures that can be used to depict the timeline. Units. The units are given in percentage instead of a given word. One word can be used, that is calibrate. Please mind your spellings while writing the words, because spellings and structures, grammatical structures, these are the two things which will be assessed on the priority basis while checking. So calibrate. Then percentage. Instead of percentage, lot many words are there. Percentum, percentile, proportion. So this is how the introduction part is written. And if you want to, and obviously these are so many words and very difficult to remember. So the only solution to remember these words is practice only. So practice more and more on these structures. So this is all about the introduction part. Now let's see how to write down the overall part. So let's see how to write down overall or overview for the writing task 1. So as the name suggests, that we have to see the general overview of the whole task. Means what are the things that we are supposed to put in our overall. Let's see. First, the most noticeable trends. We have to describe the trends which are most noticeable in our graph. Or we can say at the very first glance, these are in our observation. So most noticeable trends. Second thing, we can go for the maximum values. The maximum value or the minimum value. Or we can mention the highest value. Please remember, you are not supposed to put the value. You are supposed to only mention that this was the time frame when the value hit the maximum target. So don't put any value. Or we can write down the minimum value when the value was the lowest. And third thing, that we have to see if two values are there or more than two values are there, they are surpassing each other. Surpassing means where one value is being declined and the other one is being inclined. So this is how we have to write the overall, but without example nothing can be understood. So let's take an example to understand it in a more better way. So this is the example that we are going to discuss, and we will try to write down the overall for this or overview for this graph. This is the graph of population in India and China, and in the future years there are some predictions, and Obviously, with the years which are in future, that will write on future indefinite for this. So let's see what are the most noticeable trends in this. Obviously, where India is surpassing the China's population, it will be happening in 2030. This is just a prediction. I'm not anticipating anything. This is just a prediction that India will surpass, or we can say outpopulate the China. So this is the most noticeable trend that we have to write on. What is the second thing that we have to see? That initially the India's population is less as compared to China, but ultimately it is being peaked out in 2050. This is the trend we can see. So let's see, let's write on. Overall, in the period of 50 years, India is going to experience a steady growth in the population and will overtake China. Next trend, that is the population of India is going to be peaked out. Peaked out means to touch the highest point. Peaked out in 2050. So this is how the overall is written, and this is just one example of the overall. There might be some confusions while writing this. These confusions will be overtaken while practicing the graph or while reading the sample answers of this. So let's move on to our next passage, that is body paragraph 1. In body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2, we are supposed to analyze the trends of the graph. So we'll see different type of trends, like somewhere the value is increasing, somewhere it is being stabilized, somewhere it is declining, some fluctuations are there, or somewhere it is just below the particular value or just above the particular value. How to show these trends in our own language, that's going to be discussed in the further videos, and I'll end up this video today. And please share these videos as maximum as possible. If you like these videos, if you found these videos informative, please subscribe our channel, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.